Hey guys, welcome back. This is Val Camera from Dreamlight. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use these new Hot Girls HD scans along with this free Hot HDR background set. So first of all, what you see here is the actual preview. This is what you get. This is the quality you get, and this is how fast it renders. All right. So let me remove all that and let me show you how to use this from scratch. All right. So first of all, we're going to load the girl, okay? And each of the girls is available in the props, like DAZ Studio formats, my library, DAZ, props, Dreamlight, right? iRay, Hot Girls HD scans, Payton 113 in this case. And what you simply do is choose one of the versions here. One is just, on the ottoman, which is the chair, all right? Or lounge or small sofa, if you will, or puff, right? And one is actually loading it on the floor with the ottoman invisible. It is still there if you need it, but it's made invisible. You can also make it invisible or visible later on once it's loaded. So I'll load the default version, load prop. It jumps into the center of the scene. You can also load cameras. Each of these will have specific cameras designed for it. And then I'll also click on iRay preset and then choose one of the cameras. That's it. We're good to go, right? Now, what's cool about this is once this is, loaded, it's really super fast at rendering. And right now I'm having my laptop here, right? And when designing these, I went for extreme detail. If you're familiar with scans, they come with noise and they come with imperfections, and especially in occluded areas, there's a lot of errors usually in scans. So these are heavily, and I mean heavily, post-worked, so they look really, really good even at close range. All right, they have minimum distortion and errors, so you see all the wrinkles, all the details in full glory. All right. Now, the cool thing is that you have also 12 camera presets that are pre-made specifically for this scan. All right, simply just click on them and you can engage with any camera angles here. Right? Don't need to show them all. They are here. All right. So let's get back to this one. So now the thing is, if you want to render without the ottoman, right? This chair or lounge or sofa, mini sofa. All you can do is click on the prop and click on Ottoman Matte Invisible. That makes it invisible. It's still there geometry-wise, but it's made invisible. All right, so if you need to put your girl on a sofa or on some other kind of environment, on a bed, on the floor or ground or whatever, you can make that invisible. And if you change your mind, you can just click on visible and it pops right back. This also comes with a load prop on floor. So if you click on this one, it will automatically load a version that has the ottoman invisible. All right. Now they are kind of colliding with each other. So let me just remove the one that has the ottoman. And now you can see this one, it loads slightly different at a different height. It's like she's sitting on the floor, right? So this one is actually sitting on the floor. So if you add a floor plane, she's sitting on that plane. All right. So let's remove the plane. And let me show you the versions that have here on. We have 16K and 8K maps, right? So default is 8K. And 8K really is, let me load the default version with the ottoman. Here we go. Now, the default is 8K, right? So if you load, it loads 8K. And that has a great amount of detail. You can go really close to your character. And, I mean, it will look really, really good at close range. It has great detail, right? But eventually, when you get a little bit too close, it's gonna look a little bit more fuzzy, right? And starts to kind of degrade detail. That's where you can click on the prop here, go back, click on 16K, And that will load 16K textures, which obviously have double the resolution. Now, bear in mind, 16K is kind of heavy on your system, all right? So as you saw, you can get really close and maintain good quality, but if you want even more than 60K is an option at the cost of a little bit more, well, it's kind of heavy on your system, right? But you can see it has a lot of more detail and punch on all the textures. It comes at a cost of being a little bit more heavy. So if you don't have a high-end computer, you can end up having a little bit of difficulty rendering as quickly as the 8K maps. All right. Now let me show you the background that comes for free. The one you saw earlier, right? With the pool, Tropical Pool. So let's go ahead and load a specific version of Payton. We can remove the camera presets and just load the sitting on the ground with no ottoman, right? Then we're gonna go into here, light presets, Dreamlight, Iray, hot HDR sets. There we go. All right, and click on Tropical Pool. Now, all you do is click on the set first, load scene and camera. Then you can just switch to the camera and you're good to go. So you are ready to render right now off the bat. It just takes seconds, right? One click, choose the preset and you're ready to go. Now, these are obviously HDR maps, 360 degree, all of them. I'm gonna explain what the shade and sun means in a moment. But first of all, I just find that it's usually easier to move the camera instead of the character, to move the character. Let me show you how that works. So if I left click on this icon here, I can move the camera left and right, but that actually just moves her, right? And that is pretty much a lot quicker than having to select the model here and then look up the proper, X or Z translate and so forth. And that usually is not as fast. See, it kind of jumps a little bit here and takes a little bit while for the graphic card to update. So I found that it's usually a lot faster to just move the camera around. So let me show you how that works. If you left click up here, you're gonna orbit around her. Then you can choose a new location and you're good to go. You can zoom out or zoom in or whatever, right? Pretty cool. Now, bear in mind, you can also right click up here to pan, okay? Left click orbits around her and also moves her around the set. Now, here's the thing. These HDR maps are specifically made for these models, right? So they're kind of low camera-wise. So if you look at the camera, they are designed with a camera of 40 centimeters, so slightly below half a meter, right? And if you click on parameters, you can see the actual height of the camera. So if you keep it at 40, it's going to be a perfect match. Now, do you have to use 40 at all times? No, you don't. What you can do is left click here, lower the camera slightly. See, it's still kind of okay-ish at 34, right? At 30, she becomes a little bit larger, but still okay, right? And at 20, I wouldn't use 20 because she kind of ends up being like a giant. However, if you are really close to her and aim the camera up, you can be as low as you want. You can be at 20, you can be at 10, and render all those cool angles, right? That kind of works. So, but remember, 40 is the designed height, and that's the height that will match her properly. Now, to move your character in and out of the camera, just left click here, and you can just move her, see? So you're moving left click here to move her in and out, right click to move her left and right. However, that also shifts the height a little bit. And then you set it to 40 and you're good to go, right? So you have more maps. You have 4 camera presets, 4 maps. And let me click on the second one. Let's go ahead and just wait for it to load. There we go. And you're ready to render. It's that fast, right? Super, super quick. Now, if you want to move her to a different location, like I said, move the camera. Let's do that right now. And we're good to go, right? Super, super cool. Now we got one more, which is camera or sound 3. Let me double click on that. There we go. And specifically when you have chairs or something like that in your set, you want to have the proper height, because otherwise she's going to look, in this case, she looks a little bit too small because the camera is a little bit too high, right? So bring it down a little bit so she has the proper scale. Because when she ends up too low, she looks like a small mini version of herself, right? So that's why it's at times when you have, stuff nearby, important to have the correct scale. Right-clicking just pans and doesn't, destroy anything, right? Now, obviously, you can also rotate her. So just select her here. And by the way, you can have multiple characters. I'm going to show you that in a second. And then you can just enter a new value here. I usually say it's quicker to enter a value here rather than wait for the preview to switch. All right. Cool. Now, as you're doing these renders, you can, by all means, get really close to your character and zoom in and create a fuzzy background. So the so-called depth of field effect, right? Let's zoom out a little bit. Let's do some more cool palm trees in the background, right? There we go. So I'm just moving the camera to create this new scenario, right? You can also create something I call tilting the camera a little bit on the Z to create, oops, that was her. Sorry about that. I meant on the camera. Let me undo that. Click on the camera. Now on the Z rotate, you can get really cool, fancy looking, then right click up here to bring it down. Fancy looking, cool camera angles like Hollywood style, right? That's totally cool. Now, when you have your camera that close to your character, when you don't see the actual ground, you can switch to camera depth of field. So have the camera selected and click here and click on depth of field. Now, in most cases, you want to kind of see where that goes, right? Perspective view is kind of good to have here because you can easily rotate around your character and then just aim for around the head and you're good to go. So that would keep her in focus, but we'll keep the background blurry and you get that professional kind of look. You can also have it kind of super narrow, not to render that because that looks a little bit unreal, but you can then kind of almost sense it as you're shifting here and just look at, where is the focus going now? Kind of feels right about there, right? And then set it to 22, which is the default. All right. Pretty cool. Now, if you increase this value, you will get less of that effect. So it's up to you how you want to go with that. All right. So let me now explain the cool effect which these maps have called shade. So let's say we load a different version. It's called sun. And we're going to go now and put her in a sun area. So let's zoom out a little bit. Let's turn off depth of field. And let's say we want to have her here or here. Maybe here. All right, let's remove that awkward camera thing. Zero the Z rotation. All right, so here we have her sitting like that. And because she's sitting now, let me put her a little bit away from the camera. So she's maybe here. All right, so she's now sitting in the sun. All right. And always looking good, right? Camera height is set to, should be at 40 around here. Yeah, then we can move back to that. Cool. So always looking realistic here, right? Because she's sitting in the sun and always working perfectly. But sometimes, specifically sunny HDR maps have areas that are shaded, like here or here in front of this large wall. And normally when you put your character in there, it will not look realistic. It's like it's casting shadows that shouldn't really be there. All right. And you can maybe get away with it if you have a low camera and you kind of zoom in and you ignore the ground. But if you're seeing your character actually sitting on the ground in a shaded area, it doesn't look realistic. All right. So all you do is click on the shaded version. Voila. She's now being projected. It's the same map, but the lighting that hits her now is shaded. So it feels like she's sitting in the shadows. This is great because you can now choose to render in those darker areas as well. So if I want to have her here, we can just move a little bit here and project a little bit more further away from camera. Maybe like so, and then have the proper height, right? 40, and move her back a little bit. So here she's also sitting in shade. And by the way, this is how I did the dual render you saw. If you have seen that on the product page, let me just bring it up. So let me just turn off rendering. I'm gonna jump into Photoshop real quick. So earlier I've made two renders. One which is, this is using the shaded version, and one of the girls is properly lit here in the shade. Well, this one looks a little bit off because she's in the sunshine and she's not receiving the proper lighting. So then I made a second render with the sunshine on so that this right girl looks great, but the one on the left doesn't because she's in the shaded area. So now I have two renders and I can basically just grab one of them, Control A to select all, Control C to copy, go back here, Control V to paste. And now we can just simply remove, oops, wrong direction. There we go, right? You can remove that and release the shadows here on the front. So that way you can actually have really quickly, because these render really quickly, right? You can have multiple characters in your scene and render one of them in the sunshine and the other one in shaded areas of the same map. So this is a cool feature I have on my maps. And simply put, back inside DAZ Studio, you simply load the shaded version to have shaded lighting on the same map, or sun to have sunny lit version or lighting, right? So let me show you real quick how to add multiple characters. So one thing you can do is, once you have your character selected, is to choose the node instance, name if you like to, and click on accept. That will copy your character, and you can then copy and paste the position of your character. And I usually find it quicker to move your characters using texture shaded. Let me just copy and paste that again. There we go, right? And then you use the translation tool and you can easily move your copy around and also rotate it. So it's that easy, right? To have multiple characters. You can have as many as you like. Now bear in mind, these are high resolution characters, around 400K polygons, right? I chose a little bit higher polygon count to have really good quality. Let me show you how to quickly load these in seconds. All right, let me just remove that. And here, there's going to be the name of the girl and also kind of photo shoot number, if you will, or scan number. And this folder over here, you can create a kind of like a quick shortcut to end up over here in an instant. Let me show you how that works. You right click here and you create custom action. And when I call it Hot Girls HD Scans and click on accept. All right. Click on OK. Now, if you go to scripts, at the very top, you have Hot Girls. All right, so let me show you how that works. Let's say you're in this folder and you want to go back. Instead of wading through a lot of folders, you go up here and you click here and voila, you're instantly over here. You can just select which one you want. All right. So next, we're going to do the same thing with the background set. So we're going to go to Light Presets and Dreamlight, Array, Hot, HDR, Sets. I've been doing this for a while, so I have a lot of stuff in here. I've created some crazy thousands of products. There's a little bit here to choose from, right? So I'm gonna right click here and create custom action, and I'm gonna call it hot HDR sets and click on accept. So now if you are working on your scene and you need a background, well, you go to scripts and choose the background, click on the one you need here. Like I said, I'm going to be creating multiple of these, right? So you can just simply select the one you want, click here, and choose the camera, and you're good to go, right? It's instant. Now, same thing, if you want to load the girl, you go to scripts, hot girl HD scans, click here, choose the one you want, load, and you're good to go. So remember, this is really, really quick to render. It's made to be easy and quick to use. Now I'm going to show you some more advanced stuff right now, because sometimes there's been some kind of thought process into designing these. I wanted to make them as easy as possible to use, but also give you more options. So sometimes you're going to end up being in a darker place. We all do that, right, from time to time. I want to just load a different prop. I want to go for props. All right. And let me here select a little bit darker scenery like stonemasons. Let's choose the ministry. So this is one of my all-time favorite stonemason sets. It's a little bit older, but it's really cool looking, right? So pretty much we need to remove the HDR map because it's kind of conflicting right now. So what I'm going to do is draw them off, and I'm going to remove that. Well, you can keep the map, frankly, if you want to. It's going to, light your scene. But just for this demo, I'm going to click on none and also choose to disable the floor. We don't need any floor because it's conflicting with our set. So click draw ground off. Now, as you can see, what happens when you are in a darker set, the girl is a little bit too bright. All right. That is intentional. When designing these, I kind of built in a feature here. If you click on these two, nipple covers and girl. By the way, nipple covers is a separate item that covers nipples, right? So you can, at the very bottom here, find something called luminous. And this has to do with the emission you find here. And emission is self-glow. So I wanted these to kind of contribute a little bit to the quality, the way these models will look. And so they don't look that dark and have like a kind of added soft lighting all over, right? And you can increase this if you want to get more of that subtle kind of self-glow, if you will, all right? Too much will start to self-glow and spill into your scene. So I kept it at 8,000, so it's kind of good looking, right? Now, in case you're in a darker set, like this one, you might want to remove it or lower it. If you set it to 0, it's going to pretty much look pitch dark. I mean, the model is not going to look pitch dark. She's going to kind of match the environment you have. So if I now add a spotlight, let's choose a spotlight here and just go with hidden line, and let's move it back a little bit and just select something here. Through the windows, right? Something like that. Now, having that selected, I'm going to go back, choose NVIDIA preview, and just set the light to cast a little bit more light on my scene. So I'm going to use rectangular, 1010 is fine, and just increase luminous to actually see it in my scene. So that kind of type darker look, if you want that, right, you can, but in those cases, you should really bring the, the emission, down to a minimum. In this case, because it's so dark, the overall set, I'd say maybe works with 0. all right? But if you want a little bit more, you can always punch it somewhat and see what works for you, all right? So this is kind of like a small nudge, if you will, to make it a little bit brighter. I mean, some kind of extra light is often okay and will not destroy the mood. But the default 8000 kind of is a little bit too much in this particular case, all right? Now, another thing is that, let's say you don't want to render with lights and you just want to, have really good quality. Let me remove the stonemason set. By the way, if you want to have black backdrop in your scene, I mean, it looks black right now, right? But if you render this, it will not actually look black. It will look transparent because that's the default setting in DAZ Studio, right? So if you want to have a dark black background, you can just choose environment, backdrop, and black. This will, remember this, because this will override HDR map. So if you have an HDR map in your scene and you're not seeing it, well, duh, this is why, right? Because this is kind of on top of that. So always remember to go to the environment subtab, not the environment subtab of the render settings, but the environment tab found over here, panes, environment, all right, this one. And you choose background, backdrop black if you want to cover it black, or none to have it shine through. It will show black here on preview, but not when you render. All right. So let's say you want to have just good quality render without all the shadows or stuff, right? And just have a little bit more bright look. Well, what you can do is click on surfaces on both these two, bring the base to black, and bring the, where is it? Here, bring the luminance to 28,000. So now you got a very bright, kind of like ambient lit scenery that is looking very, very soft. All right. It still has that built-in, it still catches lighting. So what we can do is remove the light altogether, scene only, no lights in the scene, right? And now you have that ultra soft look. There is nothing here, no lights, just the default lighting as designed when scanned, right? Cool. All right. So another very cool thing about this is that this is using a NVIDIA Iray preview, right? But you can also render using texture shaded. I designed this to be really fast and good looking using texture shade as well. So you don't even need the render engine going. This is all OpenGL, really, really quick, pretty much live, and it's just really good looking as well, right? It's designed to work with texture shaded. So that's it. So guys, I covered a lot of stuff. Everything from loading these characters, using them, and copying them, adding the background set, shifting cameras, adding depth of field effects, rendering in shades and all that, in sunny areas, using these characters in darker areas and other sets, adjusting the self-glow and all that. There's been a lot of stuff covered, including these links here you can have. So that's all for now. Have fun with these scans, and I'll see you soon again.